Okay, everybody, guess what? Guess what? There is a The Brain That Wouldn't Die remake. It's happened. It's real. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I hope your day is going well. My day is going splendid because I have seen The Brain That Wouldn't Die, the remake. The Brain That Wouldn't Die is a film, a classic exploitation movie that I loved as a kid. It kind of freaked me out. It's weird. It's creepy. It features burlesque dancers and a crazed doctor. And if you've seen the original, The Brain That Wouldn't Die, also known as The Head That Wouldn't Die, you know what an entertaining classic. You may have not even ever seen this movie, but I know for a fact you've seen somewhere that image of the woman on the table with her head just sitting on the table. And you've probably seen that poster. Well, I'm excited to bring on the filmmakers who made the movie. Hank Huffman, the screenwriter, Derek Carl, the director. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. Guys, super happy to talk to you because I contributed to the Kickstarter that helped get this movie made. And I'm so excited to finally get to see it.
And you got to watch it 4 years later.
First of all, do not apologize because I've contributed to a lot of things on Kickstarter, tech stuff and comic books. I get a lot of comic books on Kickstarter, a few movies here and there. But anyone that says like, yeah, my movie's going to be done in 2 years, good luck. Like, especially now with like, I'm in the midst of making a film and there's a pandemic. So throw that into the mix. I mean, look, I'm hoping to make a deadline or at least have a rough of the film. But look, don't apologize for that. It takes time to do these things and well worth the wait because you delivered something that's a faithful tribute, but it's different and its own thing. You went with color, which I was surprised with. Although, you know what, you can just change the settings and make it black and white.
That's right.
But I really want to know. Like I mentioned in the intro that I'm a big fan of this film, and it's sort of like that iconic image. So obviously that was the inspiration. But what made you think like, hey, nobody owns this public domain. I'm just going to remake it.
That was all Hank who came up with the idea.
Yeah, like you, that was a movie that stuck with me since I first saw it as a kid. Particularly, like you mentioned, the iconography of Jan in the Pan, this head on the table. And rewatching it, it felt like more current social commentary than I would have expected. It seemed to only become more relevant with time. In terms of bodily autonomy and what have you. And it also was similar to little movies that Derek and I had already been making, one of which was pretty directly influenced by The Brain That Wouldn't Die. So seemed like a natural way to go.
Yeah. And I had actually never seen the movie before when Hank pitched the idea to me. He called me up and was just like, I'm working on the script, but I want you to watch a movie. It's free on YouTube called The Brain That Wouldn't Die. And I watched it like immediately after the phone call and called him back. And I was like, it was not well made, but I loved it. And he was like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear because I'm writing a remake. So, and up until production, I'd only watched the movie maybe 2 times. I actually really made an effort not to watch it because I didn't want to try and copy it too much. I know Hank knew it so well, and he could bring in like the love of the original, and then I could bring in my fresh eyes on the project.
Well, what I really liked about it, in the envisioning of the new incarnation of this film, is that you captured the sort of melodramatic acting style that was prevalent at the time, and I thought that was such a good choice to like the melodrama's there. They're not just acting; they're talking in a certain cadence, and that worked so well. Like it just made it all the more entertaining. I don't remember the original really having much social commentary. I mean, it's a cheesy exploitation film.
Yeah.
Whatever social commentary, Hank, that you wove into the script doesn't feel forced. It feels just sort of organic with the concept.
Yeah, well, the extent to it being in the original is really just that one sentence, "Let me die."
Yeah.
It's, it seems like, yeah, that's her choice. That's her call. You don't get to tell somebody, no, like, I'm going to force you to stay alive as this abomination, I think they refer to it. But yeah, and it's easy to see where the metaphor can extend from there in several ways. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned that it's not as present in the original, because I couldn't tell you how. I have a hard time assessing the intentions of the original film. At times it feels pretty progressive, and then it will immediately slip into something very regressive. And I don't know when they're being facetious, when they're being, intentionally cheeky, or when they're just being completely wrong-minded. I don't know, but I hope that's a little more clear in ours, certainly.
And there's definitely some themes that are happening that are maybe unintentional, but are kind of great at the same time. Like the thing he's ashamed of is the penis-shaped monster that's trapped in his closet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some queer theory or something going on there too. So
I love that. I love like theories and essays that sort of break apart a movie and say, well, it really meant this, because I don't think that there's a wrong answer. I mean, films can be so subjective depending on how you look at them. I mean, I once, this is weird, in an old issue of Film Threat magazine, I hired a dominatrix to review the movie Planet of the Apes, the Charlton Heston one. Because when you look at that movie, it's all like a Marquis de Sade, like BDSM, like imagery. It's, it's humans have leather collars, and they're stripped naked and thrown in cages and forced to mate and stripped naked in front. It's just like, it's weird. And I'm going like, this is all like, is it just me? And then I hire this dot. So I love those sort of like weird theories, because they aren't wrong. There's a theory going around that the Matrix films, or at least the first Matrix, is about the journey of a trans person. And I'm like, well, I didn't see that, but that's not for me. But I can see like, okay, that could, I like those kind of arguments, because it just makes you look at the movie with a completely different lens. And what you guys did is you just made maybe some of those themes that were bubbling under the surface and sort of added them right there. And I like the changes that you made. I like the fact that you kind of extended the ending a little bit. Can you talk about like what went into some of those changes and those choices? One of the biggest choices is shooting in color.
Yeah, in terms of color, we just wanted to differentiate ourselves from the original. And literally every time you told someone we were making The Brain They Wouldn't Die, their first question is, oh, are you doing it in black and white? And so that was just like a cue to us that maybe that's where we could do something interesting and different. So I was watching a lot of movies in the similar time period that were color, old Technicolor stuff. Like Vertigo was a big inspiration in terms of our color scheme. So I just really fell in love with that old Technicolor style, and got excited about doing something different.
Well, I mean, and you can also always release a black and white version, right? Like they did with Mad Max Fury Road. What did they call that? The Blood and Chrome edition or something?
It's like black and silver or something. Yeah. Yeah. We actually talked about that. If you can fit it onto a DVD, we'll probably have a black and white version on the DVD that you could watch. So.
Oh no, you have to do that. I think I think it would be cool. I mean, you could actually, technically speaking, couldn't you put the original on the DVD?
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
I love it. Because I did. We're talking about. I contributed to your Kickstarter, and I have no expectations when it comes to. I feel like I need to be drinking what you're drinking right now. This is the
product placement.
There you go. Yeah, well, I thought it was. I didn't think that was tea. I thought that was something else.
Oh,
I thought that was
no.
whiskey. I'm thinking, oh my God, it's the end of the day for me. I could
Yeah.
use one.
Yeah, that
But
would be a hell of a whiskey. Yeah.
But look, everyone knows that the filmmaker, you contribute to a movie on Kickstarter, it's gonna take time. It's just take whatever time people have said and just double it or more, and just have that expectation. There should just be, when it comes to film projects, and I've contributed to other ones where I got to know the people later, the filmmakers later, but it's like, it's just the way it is. I mean, especially because with the amount of money raised, you're not paying yourselves. The money's going all into the production. So like, I have to work a day job. I assume you have a day job, and then you work on the movie on the side. And that's just the way it is. But I'm about like 50-50 when it comes to successfully doing a Kickstarter, because you kind of, on your first time out on Kickstarter, you find out, well, this is kind of what the market bears, which is not here's what I need to do the thing, but this is what the market's going to pay me. So maybe I'll just get started and figure out how to, get the rest of those gap funds, right? But what went into some of those choices and those differences? Because I actually think that those differences and changes are the thing that make this so unique and worth seeing side by side with the original.
As far as story changes and added characters and scenes, what I hoped to do was that everything that I added, I wanted somebody watching it to assume that it was part of the original. Obviously heightened or, made more comedic or what have you, but I wanted it to seem like it could have been a natural extension of the original story. Like a detective investigating the car wreck and catching up with him. That seems like it ought to have been part of the original. It's kind of odd how little drama there is outside of the story with Jan in the Pan. There's nobody trying to catch him or stop him. And like you said, the extension of the ending, I won't spoil it, but there's it just seemed like a movie that ought to end ironically to some extent, in a sort of Twilight Zone fashion. And it's gotten to the point now where when I go back and watch the original, I expect things from our movie to happen in it that don't. And it's, I hate to admit it, but our movie has sort of ruined the original for me in some ways, because there are some things that I never noticed before. But in the original, Jan, when she wakes up as a head on the table, she just immediately knows what's going on. She's talking to the thing in the closet. She knows the lab assistant's name somehow. There's never like a what's going on, where am I, why am I ahead? Like, you would think that's in there, and I thought it was. There's a lot of stuff in our movie that I would have thought was in the original. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. I thought that you're right. Like, the thing with the detective, and also I thought that the ending was poetic and tragic. I don't want to spoil it, but I think it's a better ending, because you take it beyond what the original did, and you kind of answered some questions. Also, isn't the original like 70 minutes, or it's like 65? It's really short, my recollection.
Yeah, it's about 80 minutes, I believe. There's an edited version and an unedited that runs a bit longer. But yeah, I believe it's rough. We added about 15 minutes to the movie, give or take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did I get the Chiron right on the bottom? BrainThatWouldn'tDie.com.
That is it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Because I want people to know that the film is not it's not necessarily available now, but you can get more info at BrainThatWouldn'tDie.com. If I get my Kickstarter rewards in 2022, I don't care. I've finally gotten to see the movie. I don't even remember what I ordered. I think, if knowing me, I probably just ordered whatever the Blu-ray or DVD option was.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I'm just, I love Kickstarter as a resource. In a way, for me, it's like I look at Kickstarter like a pre-order. I'm going to pre-order it. I'm going to get a little break on the price, and once it's commercially available, and I want to let people know they can go to brainthatwouldn'tdie.com. Brain that wouldn't die. No, there's no the there.
No, the Brain That Wouldn't Die was taken. So
what?
Yeah, I know.
Don't go there.
But yeah, thank you for that. The film is actually still going to run in a couple festivals, so there are ways you can catch it sooner than later, and we're working on the distribution deals right now. So
that's great. Well,
yeah.
First of all, congratulations to you both. You fought long and hard, 4 years. Well worth the wait. I think once you send this out to get reviews, I think people are going to love it because it's just it's a tribute, and it's different in a way that makes the story better. And I love that it's also, you kept it as a period piece in a way. If you look at Frank, I'm sure you know Frank Henenlotter, like Frankenhooker is basically a tribute to that film, but it's set present day. It's different. I mean, that movie is completely different than what you did. It's not a remake, but it is in a sense a tribute to that concept and that story. But I really like your approach, and I'm just happy to finally get to see it.
Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks for being a Kickstarter backer. We really appreciate your support.
Yeah, that felt like a good omen when it came along. I was listening to you at the time as a guest on Comedy Film Nerds.
Oh, wow.
And you were on there talking about what, that making film has never been more accessible.
Yeah.
And you were kind of putting out a call to see more people just try and make a movie. Mm-hmm. A true independent film, and then we see you pop up as a backer, and it felt like a good sign.
Wow. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for delivering on Kickstarter. I can't wait for everyone else to get to see it. You can go to brainthatwouldn'tdie.com. I also want to thank our sponsor. Go to storyblocks.com/filmthreat. All sorts of tools for filmmakers and creators, and it helps support the show if you go to storyblocks.com/filmthreat. Hank and Derek, congratulations. I'm just ecstatic we finally got to meet, and I got to see the film.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this was fun.